The length of games has always been a talking point in the gaming community when talking about story games, because regardless of how long, so many people are unsatisfied with their length. Oh my god. Based on conversations surrounding length, both gamers and Based on the conversations I see surrounding length, both gamers and the people making the game seem to be confused about how long games should be. A lot of game studios seem to have this weird obsession with engagement time. They want to keep the players playing as long as they possibly can, which makes sense. When you make something, especially something creative, you'd want people to engage with it and enjoy it. But the problem seems to be that they don't really care about whether you're enjoying it or not, they just want to keep you playing. I stumbled upon this article a while back about how the Starfield developers made the game with the intention that it be played for a long time. But the author of the article finds himself wanting to play less of Starfield than other Bethesda titles, despite Starfield being their most expansive title yet. And after giving Starfield a fair chance after my hate video on it, every single piece of criticism I foresaw without even playing the game was proved true before my very eyes. You can tell they wanted you to play this game for a while, and that's the problem. When you make a game with the intention of keeping the player playing, most of the time you're probably gonna fail. Because in my experience, people like games that make them feel like they aren't spending a lot of time on it, even if they are. Even if the game is long, the player should be having so much fun that the length of the game isn't a concern. And if it is a concern, it should be about accidentally sinking 10 hours into a game and forgetting all your responsibilities. Now your relationship is crumbling before your eyes, and she's taking the kids. Persona 5 is the best example of a long game that wasn't made to be long. The average playthrough of Persona 5 is like 100 hours, something slight, but it never feels like it overstays its welcome. Well, for the most part. This is a complete story from beginning to end with little to no bloat. The game is this long because it needed to be this long. It justifies being this long. Not something I could say for a lot of other JRPGs. Baldur's Gate is another great example of this phenomenon. Baldur's Gate 3, there are 3 acts, and each one took an absurd amount of time to complete. But at the same time, it feels like it took no time at all, and the secret behind this is the size of the world itself. Each act's map isn't actually that big in retrospect and can be traversed through it in a couple of minutes. But there's so much to do in this small area that it ends up intriguing you in a way that you'd be intrigued by an environment in real life. I wonder what's in this building. How do I get in this building without dying? Is it safe to go over there? I know it's not safe to go over there, but will it ever be? These are the questions that make a 10-hour session feel like an hour. Every building, every NPC, every interaction serves a greater purpose. That greater purpose being to immerse you in a world that you want to explore and rewards you for doing exactly that. Not a barren wasteland without shit to do in it like Starfield. Walking around Starfield is a feeling I can only describe as walking around at IKEA. You can look and admire on the outside, but that's all it is, a display. The NPCs don't feel like people, they're just vessels to dump quests and exposition about topic that the game struggles to make you care about. It may look nice, but it's lifeless on the inside, and no amount of meatballs can save it. It's lacking substance, and this is exactly what happens when you make a game with a specific length or size in mind. Games should just be made to do what they do, and be as long as it takes to make a good solid game, to fulfill the vision. Like Baldur's Gate, no more, no less. And this rule doesn't just apply to games that are long. There are so many games that are amazing experiences and are short. Honestly, the fact that they're short probably being a big reason as to why they're good. Like the Resident Evil games, and the best example of this, Little Nightmares. Little Nightmares 1 and 2 are some of my favorite gaming experiences I've had to this day. It's short, it's terrifying, it's to the point, it is so good. It shows you what it has up its sleeve, then leaves before it gets stale. And they could have easily made it longer and shoved more stuff in it, but it sticks to the vision that they had. And this game is actually one of the games that inspired me to make this channel, but I wasn't confident enough in my analysis skills to describe why I liked it. So I made terrible anime videos instead. And even now, I still don't know why I like it, I just do. Sometimes you can't always explain what you like. Some things you just connect with. And the way I feel about Little Nightmares is what I hope to feel about every single game I play. It doesn't matter the length or how much content is in it if the quality is there. Little Nightmares is like $30, pretty sure. It was like $40 at launch, but I paid $60 for it. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who'd agree with me. But that's not how it seems on the surface when you see some of the discourse by fans surrounding the length of games. If a game isn't at least 20 hours, people are like, this game isn't worth $60, let alone 70. I even took a poll, and as expected, the ideal length of a game was around 30 to 50 hours of gameplay. But there are so many irrefutable classics that fall way under this unspoken 20-hour prerequisite. So are they the exceptions, or does the length have nothing to do with what decides whether a game is good or not? What I think is that when people say a game is too short and it's not worth the money, it just means it's not good enough. Because look at this, Resident Evil 4 takes about 12 to 15 hours to beat, Spider-Man takes about 17 hours to beat. Never heard a single soul complain about the length of Resident Evil 4. Meanwhile, Spider-Man 2 has been scrutinized for just that, even though it's longer than Resident Evil 2. And I think that's because, despite what I said about it being the perfect sequel gameplay-wise, the story was half-baked and unfulfilling. So now, it's too short and not worth the AAA price because it wasn't good enough. And if you say, oh, but that's only one game, Detroit Become Human is a 12-hour game. Batman Arkham City is on average a 15-hour playthrough. Mario Galaxy is on average a 14-hour playthrough. So instead of saying a game is too short, why don't you just say what you really mean? You didn't like it because it simply wasn't good enough. It just wasn't a good game. Because if people keep complaining about these games being too short when that's not actually the case, I have a feeling we're gonna see a huge uptick in soulless games padded for length so companies can sell copies. Because guys, look, 30 hours of gameplay, this is what you wanted. But if you ask me, the quality of gameplay is far more important. That's a no-brainer. I'm pretty sure everyone watching this video agrees, even if they say otherwise. That being said, I'd personally much rather pay $70 for 4 hours in Little Nightmares than 400 hours in Starfield. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments below. I think we should just stop using length as a detractor altogether, because it doesn't really matter. Because it's about the motion in the ocean, obviously. Like the video if you enjoyed, take it easy, and as usual, have a good one.